Quick introduction. Vanessa works for CTI. She's a program manager, and you're based in the States, Vanessa. Hello, welcome.
Good morning, or maybe good afternoon for you. It's still a little early over here for me.
What time is it there for you? Is it 7?
Yeah, 7 a.m.
Great. Well, thank you, Vanessa. I appreciate you getting up before the household wakes to come and chat. How have you been? I'm so interested to talk about your story because we've had a pre-call, and you've got such an interesting background and story to tell. Can we start off with talking about how your upbringing has shaped your purpose and how it's brought you into the AV industry ultimately?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is something that I've actually been thinking about a lot over the last several months with my transition over to CTI, joining the board of directors for WAVET. So I've had a lot of reflection on this, and I can definitely say that my upbringing taught me resilience and adaptability long before I even really knew what those words meant. This might be a little dark humor for some, but I always like to say that I got the best of both worlds. So my early childhood was filled with all the things of Hallmark movies, lots of love, stability, family vacations, all of that. But after losing my dad and several other really close family members, my teenage years looked very different. I spent a lot of time in group homes, foster homes, residential facilities, you name it. Those experiences taught me a lot about perseverance. I didn't really have a clear blueprint for what success was supposed to look like, but I always knew I wanted a lot more for my life than what the statistics predicted for someone in my circumstances. I definitely spent a lot of time in my teenage years around people who kind of expected me to become a statistic, and I became very determined to become the exception instead. I've always been a little stubborn in that way. I liked proving people wrong, and I still like doing that today. But even during those really difficult years, I was always looking for opportunities to move forward. I had petitioned the courts for access to better education because I just wanted to challenge myself more academically than the schools that the residentials provided. I pursued internships. I just knew I wanted exposure to a world bigger than the one that I had been living in. And all those experiences showed me that opportunity can definitely change the trajectory of somebody's life. So after I had aged out of the system, I moved across the country. I was 19 years old, and I was ready to just start building a career. I started in software development, IT, broadband, and just like a lot of other people, I found myself in AV by complete accident. Like a lot of people, I didn't grow up dreaming about doing AV and spreadsheets and color code things and cabling. I wanted to be a lawyer, but ended up falling in love with the combination of the people, the technology, the problem solving. So I guess today, just how my background shaped who I am now and what I want to do. I would say that my main purpose is definitely to just keep reaching higher for myself while also making the ladder just a little bit easier for the next person to climb. I really want women, young people, especially those from non-traditional backgrounds like myself, to know that where you start absolutely does not have to determine where you finish. And I think that if my story helps someone believe that their goals are possible, then I feel like I've done something that's worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so brilliant and brave that you are willing to share this with everybody and help others with your story. And I know this is a really important part for you within the AV industry and the work you're doing with WAVET, isn't it? That's part of your reason really for joining WAVET as well. And it's a great story, Vanessa, about your resilience and determination and how you've just managed to keep that focus on your goals and what you wanted to achieve. So you mention in your story about non-traditional career paths, and you're passionate about that. what does it mean to you, and what does it mean within the scope of AV?
Yeah. So I feel like as a society, we've done a really good job about talking about all the traditional career paths. So college degree, career ladder, everybody knows that kind of pathway, but we don't talk about all the really great and incredible careers that people build through just like experience, curiosity, mentorship, and just straight up persistence. I think one of the things that makes the AV community so amazing is that it's just full of those stories. Some of the smartest and most brilliant people that I've worked with have come from all different kinds of backgrounds, like military, construction, education, theater, like you name it. There's so many unrelated industries where somehow people just found their way to AV. Um, I've I feel like I've found a lot of success here and a sense of belonging, and I just want people to know that success doesn't require that perfect roadmap. You can do things in whatever order works for you. Just the main thing is that it starts out with being willing to learn and staying curious. Um, yeah, just be open to anything, never stop learning, and never stop pursuing the next thing.
That's great advice. It's really ironic in a way that we're talking about don't just fall into it and, have a plan to come into AV, but actually some of the beauty about the industry is that people have fallen into it. And whilst we want more career paths for people and a bit more of a journey that we can offer people to come in, actually there's also some beauty in the fact that there isn't a fixed path. You can fall in through any manner of routes, and yeah, like you say, it lends itself to some very diverse stories and backgrounds of the people that you come across. And then in the industry, if you work hard, you can be successful. It's one of those industries. It's as someone described it once, like a meritocracy. In terms of your technical background and how what you've worked really hard to develop, how has that shaped that and how you approach your program management position at CTI?
Um, that's a really good question because I always say that I'm not the most technical person in the room. I definitely don't
Mm.
pretend to be, and I never will be. But having that technical background, it definitely helps me understand like what's happening underneath the surface of everything. So I mean, as a program manager, I don't need to be the smartest person, the smartest engineer in the room. But understanding the technology helps me ask better questions, identify risks earlier. And most importantly, it helps me translate between technical teams and different business stakeholders that may not be very technical themselves. Um, One of the biggest parts of my job is to serve as a bridge. So customers care about business outcomes, engineers care about technical execution, and program manager kind of helps align those two worlds together.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And in your role at CTI as program manager, what does it look like in AV when we talk about like a complex project turned into results? What does that mean in the context of AV?
Yeah, so I actually, not to shamelessly promote myself, but I just started like my own personal branded series on LinkedIn, and I started dubbing it with the hashtag programs people progress. And I just recently covered this exact topic in one of my posts. I feel very strongly that a successful project isn't just one that gets installed, it's one that actually delivers the business outcome that the customer was trying to achieve in the first place. So we all know technology is very important, but the real challenge is just creating alignment between all the different groups and ultimately the experience for the end user. So for me, success or turning complex projects into results is when a customer can actually look back 6 months later and be like, this solution improved the way our people work. And that's when a project actually becomes a result. And then it doesn't hurt when they also acknowledge that maybe the delivery of that project wasn't quite so painful.
No, that's great. And I'm sure you've got customers coming back, time and time again with that approach there. There must be some very happy clients out there with that approach that's very client centric. What Our world is evolving fast. The technology is evolving fast. AI, unified comms, smart spaces. How do you keep abreast of the changes, and how do you balance that with, the projects that you're doing?
So like I said, like I don't try to know everything, and I don't think you really can. The industry just moves too quickly for any one person to be an expert in every single kind of technology.
Mm,
So that's when I lean into the really smart people that are really tapped into what's going on. I stay connected to the AV community. Um, I attend events whenever I can. I participate in mentorship programs. I learned a lot from previous mentors. I follow different industry leaders on LinkedIn, and I just spend a lot of time with the people that are closest to the technology. I know I already said it, but the biggest skill isn't knowing everything, it's just knowing how to keep learning.
yeah, yeah. It sounds like you're very absorbed in a lot of areas of the industry and keeping really on the money and on the button about what's going on in the market. So, Vanessa, you've just joined the board of Wave It. I'm interested to find out more about what were your motivations for joining, and what did you join with the intention of? What were your hopes of what you could change or amplify as being part of that group?
Yeah, so Waveit's mission really aligns with what I feel like has shaped my career and my purpose. That includes visibility, mentorship, and just creating pathways for people who may not see themselves in this industry. A lot of that comes from my own lived experience. So, like, I've been in environments where access, opportunity, they weren't obvious things to me. And I know how big it is whenever someone can step in and intentionally expose you to something.
Yeah.
I've been so fortunate in my career that there have been so many people that have done that for me. They've helped open doors for me, they've advocated for me, and they've helped me navigate spaces where I didn't always feel like I belonged. So a couple years ago, I had an amazing conversation with Chris Netto. I'd been connected to him through like a friend of a colleague to a friend, and I remember he was actually the first person. Like he asked great questions. It's so funny how like that was our first time meeting, and I felt like we had known each other for years. He's such a great person to talk to.
He is. He's so engaging and so kind and generous with his time, and just yeah, so easy, isn't he, to spend time with? Great guy.
Yeah. So it was very easy to open up about some of what I had been through growing up. And that was kind of one of the first times where I realized I was like, oh, I can probably do something bigger um, and better with those experiences and like just use that to do something good for others and just other people.
Mm,
Um, so when I started getting involved in Wave It, and at the time I didn't really know what that looked like yet. I just knew like there's got to be something. So a little bit after that I got involved with Wave It's outreach committee.
okay.
Um, and that's when I kind of had a little aha light bulb moment. I was like, we want to do outreach to all these like different schools and community organizations, but I don't think that the like kids and young women in the system are something that we've really considered very much
Mm,
yet.
mm,
So on the board, I'm specifically very passionate about expanding that visibility into those overlooked populations. I've personally seen firsthand how impactful it is when outside groups will come in to like engage or mentor young women because that was me at some point in my life. I I want to be somebody that can help widen the lens of who gets to see themselves in this industry. And it's not about like changing somebody's pathway overnight. It's just about like when somebody finally walks into a room and they're like, okay, like I actually belong here. Because for me, again, like it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't a huge aha moment of like, oh, I belong, I know what I'm doing. It was just like quiet reflection and internal acknowledgement of like having come out of like a big meeting or something and being like, like I did good. Like I feel comfortable and this is like somewhere that I belong. So I want to do that for other people.
I think that's fantastic, and our industry can be hard enough to recognize at the best of times, you know, in terms of, I think we lack some visibility to the general population, weirdly, even though AV is all around us. The fact that you can make a career and the opportunities that exist, you know, are not always visible, and even less so to the population and the people that you mention. And then once you realize what's available and the potential opportunities, and then you can see role models like yourself, then it just gives people more choices and opens up the opportunities that they can consider, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
As we know, it's a great industry to be in, with some fantastic people and some fantastic opportunities. So yeah, I wish you every success with that. I'd be really interested to see how that program continues. On a similar topic, you were part of the Rise First mentorship program, and as you mentioned, you're really passionate about more accessible pathways for women within the AV industry. What do you think are the barriers that are most often seen for women trying to enter the AV world?
Yeah, so like you just said, awareness is still one of the biggest barriers. A lot of women just don't know AV exists as a career option.
Mm.
Even for me, who did end up coming from a technical background, I didn't hear about AV until the first time I was interviewing for an AV company. But beyond that, I think what really drives things home is representation. So it's really difficult to picture yourself somewhere if you've never seen anybody that looks like you in one of those roles. Luckily, the good news is I really feel like we're making progress, especially with programs like Rise AV, Wave It, mentorship initiatives, and just in general, industry leaders who are intentionally creating opportunities to help move the industry forward. The goal isn't just to get more women into the industry, it's to help them and make sure that they can build long-term and meaningful careers once they are here and they want to stick with it. So I do feel like we've made a lot of progress. We have a long way to go, but the future is definitely very bright for that.
Yeah, you're right. There's so many more initiatives, things that, you know, continue to change and evolve in this space, don't they, really, for better representation within the industry. Now that you are where you are and you're at CTI, great company, fantastic role as a program manager, if you could go back to your younger self at the start of your AV career, what advice would you give yourself?
I'm gonna think about that one. Um, don't wait until you're ready. Um, for a really long time, I felt like I needed to fully understand everything before I raised my hand for the next opportunity. Like I had to earn permission by being perfect first. But what I've actually learned is that readiness usually happens once you've already started it and not before it. Some of my own real personal growth came from saying yes before I really felt very comfortable. I asked more questions than I thought I should, and sorry, I'm blanking on this.
Yeah, I think what you say really resonates with taking the action and not always being ready, but being very uncomfortable at times. I think that's where, you know, the growth happens. It's uncomfortable, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
uncomfortable. It's
you
not,
can't grow in your comfort zone.
no,
Yeah.
no, you can't. So I think that is great advice, is just to start, do the thing. The hardest part is starting, isn't it, they say? So do the thing, get going, and then the action, you know, compounds, and before you know it, you've done something you didn't think that you would, you know, be achieving initially. That's great advice. I totally admire, Vanessa, all of the energy you've got around your work, all the community elements of AV that you get involved in with the boards, mentorship, industry events. And I know also you've got a young family, and you know that's incredible, that how you're spinning all the plates and doing all of the things. Where does your energy and drive come from?
Yeah, so I think some of it is I don't think I always felt like I had a choice to not have the energy or drive. But on the other side of it, a lot of it comes from perspective. So I talked about my upbringing, some of the experience I've lived through, and I've seen what happens when people don't get access to opportunity or when circumstances start to define what somebody believes is possible for their life. Um, I've lost a lot of people to things like addiction, mental health struggles, and systems that really don't give them very much room to recover. So I definitely don't take opportunity lightly. But also on another side of the coin with that, I feel like a lot of it comes from gratitude. So I've had a lot of people in my life who saw something in me before I really saw anything in myself. Now today I'm a mom of three amazing boys. We have a little baby girl on the way. She's due in August. And I'm so used to saying fiance. I just got married.
Yes,
Not
I saw
last
on
weekend, but the
LinkedIn.
weekend before. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's beautiful.
Yeah. So, I mean, they they make it personal, you know.
Yeah.
I want them to see what it looks like to keep on growing and never settling. I want to teach all my children to be able to serve others and be part of something that's bigger than yourself. And especially now, like I said, I've had three boys, and now I have a little girl that's on the way, and so I feel like my work with organizations like WAVET have taken on like a whole nother edge to them.
Yeah.
So for me, whether it's work, it's mentorship, board service, being in the industry, or just giving back to the community in ways outside of my career, it connects back to one main idea, which is leaving people and places better than I found them.
That's fabulous. Fantastic. And how exciting you're having a little girl as well.
So excited. I don't know if I would have been able to do a fourth little boy, so we're so excited.
Extremely busy time. She's going to have three very adoring big brothers.
Yeah.
So for someone who's listening and watching, who's curious about coming into AV or they're looking at a career in program management, what would you say they should know before they take that step and come into the industry or come into program management?
Yeah, so I mean, AV is obviously technology, but the thing is that AV is actually a people business disguised as a technology business. So by all means, you'll learn all the systems, the things, displays, audio, collaboration tools, all of it. But the technology is very real, constantly evolving. But what actually determines your success in this industry is how you work with people. So communication, trust, adaptability, just how you respond when things don't really go perfectly, because eventually, as we all know, something will end up not working.
Yeah.
If you're willing to learn, like I've said before, you genuinely enjoy people helping them solve problems, then there's definitely a place for you here. And once you're in it, you're going to realize it's not just about building systems, it's about building relationships that actually make all those systems work. So get ready for
Yeah.
the people because we're great.
It's very true. The people are fantastic, and it's certainly something that defines our industry very, very, it makes very different to others. Vanessa, you're amazing. You're brilliant. Thank you so much for your time. This is a really powerful information that you've shared, and I'm so grateful that you have shared your story here today. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so excited I got to come on this with you. So thank you
Oh,
for the
I'm so excited
opportunity.
as well. Yeah, can't wait to share it, Vanessa. So look forward to doing that very soon. And you take care and all the best to
You
you and
too.
your family.
Good luck with your heat wave.
Thanks, Vanessa.